I like an escalator, man, because an escalator can never break. It can only become stairs.
So this bloke said to me, he said, Tim, he said, as a young boy, was your mother very strict with you? I said, let me make one thing absolutely clear. My mother was never a young boy.
The US military are pulling out of Baghdad. Fair enough, withdrawing is what you do after you fuck something.
I remember the day the candle shop burned down. Everybody just stood around and sang happy birthday.
When I was a kid, my fairy godmother asked me if I wanted a long penis or a long memory. I forget my response.
I don't have a girlfriend. I just know a girl who would get really mad if she heard me say that.
I like my border security like I like my sex. Sure, I have boundaries, but occasionally I let a Mexican man sneak in.
I was at a casino, I was standing by the door, and a security guard came over and said, "You're gonna have to move. You're blocking the fire exit." As though if there was a fire, I wasn't gonna run.
My uncle was a clown for Ringling Brothers Circus. And when he died, all his friends went to the funeral in one car.
No, I was horrible in school. I failed math so many times I can't even count. I was good at history. No. No, I wasn't.
My sister and her husband live next to a bunch of cell phone towers. And they're concerned it's going to affect the health of their children, you know, if they can stop having miscarriages.
So I watched a football match in Japan. At the end, they started doing martial arts. I said to the bloke next to me, I said, "What's going on?" He said, "There's 2 minutes of ninjury time."
I quit my job at the helium gas factory. I refuse to be spoken to in that tone.
A very common male fantasy is to have two women at the same time. One to cook, one to clean, right?
So I get off the plane and I forgot to undo my seatbelt and I'm pulling the plane through the terminal.
When you get older, it's tough to get girls tough. I tell you, John. The best thing to be is bisexual. Then you got a shot at everybody.
So I get out of the bed, I figured I'd go for a walk. She said, "How long are you going to be gone?" I said, "The whole time."
People worry about their physical appearance. We all have silly hang-ups. Personally, I worry that one of my balls is bigger than the other two.
We all have bittersweet memories of our childhood. I recall one summer when the neighborhood parents were buying their children skateboards. It was the rage at the time. Except for my parents. They told me that we were too poor and that they couldn't afford to buy me a skateboard. But I remember one night I tippy-toed out of my bedroom, I got a piece of wood and a hammer, and I beat them to death.
If my grandmother knew how much money I spent on her funeral, she would be spinning in her ditch.
My girlfriend's family are quite religious. I remember the first time I went to stay with her at her parents' house and her dad wouldn't let us sleep together, which was a shame because he's very attractive.
I was 5 years old watching TV. Only you can prevent forest fires. Oh no. Every night out the window with a bucket of water.
There are immigrants that have come to America, stolen jobs and murdered the local population. And we call those immigrants the Founding Fathers.
Oh, I met a sexy girl a few weeks ago who worked in a restaurant making hamburgers. She told me she could make a big boy in 3 minutes and a boy big in 2 minutes. Very sexy.
I was out in the middle of the desert, a UFO landed. 3 one-inch tall guys get out. They walked over to me. I said, "Are you really 1 inch tall?" They said, "No, we're really very far away."
And I was a very ugly kid. Every time my old man wanted sex, my mother showed him my picture.